Autumn 2025 has brought a chilling harvest for American agriculture, not in crops, but in lost markets and rising debt. Across the heartland, the mood is somber, as farmers face a season unlike any before, with uncertainty clouding every decision. The familiar rhythms of planting and harvesting have been disrupted by forces far beyond the fields, leaving many to wonder what the future holds for their livelihoods. The Trump administration has escalated its America First trade policy, imposing sweeping new tariffs on China and other partners. These measures, announced with fanfare in Washington, are intended to protect American jobs and industries, but their impact is rippling far beyond the halls of government. China retaliated immediately, halting all U.S. soybean purchases and letting beef import permits expire. The sudden loss of these massive export markets has left American producers scrambling, with silos filling up and contracts vanishing overnight. This mirrors the first-term trade war, but the stakes are even higher now. The world is watching as two economic giants clash, and the consequences are being felt in every rural community across the country. Global competitors have spent years preparing to fill the void left by U.S. producers. Countries like Brazil and India are ramping up exports, eager to seize new opportunities and establish themselves as reliable suppliers on the world stage. New tariffs now target not just agriculture, but also kitchen cabinets, furniture, lumber, movies, and pharmaceuticals. The reach of these policies is expanding, touching nearly every corner of the American economy and affecting businesses large and small. These moves, meant to protect American industries, have instead created instability and uncertainty for farmers. Many are left grappling with tough choices, whether to plant, to sell, or to simply hold on and hope for relief. The administration's strategy is maximum pressure, but the domestic costs are mounting. Rural economies are feeling the strain, with local businesses and families caught in the crossfire of global politics. Promised aid for farmers is delayed and uncertain, offering little comfort as crops ripen with nowhere to go. The sense of abandonment is growing as government support fails to keep pace with the mounting losses. Farmers are on the front lines of this trade war, and casualties are rising daily. Each day brings new stories of hardship as families face the prospect of losing land that has been in their care for generations. The economic siege is reshaping global commerce at a breathtaking pace, redrawing trade routes and alliances. As the world adapts, American farmers are left to navigate an uncertain and rapidly changing landscape. For American soybean farmers, China's market closure during harvest season is nothing short of catastrophic. The timing couldn't be worse. Just as fields are ready for harvest, the world's largest buyer has slammed its doors shut. China once bought 60% of U.S. soybean exports. Now, that market has vanished, leaving a historic surplus and deep uncertainty. Ships that once carried American crops across the Pacific now sit idle, and storage bins that should be empty are overflowing. The financial shock is immediate. Billions in expected revenue gone overnight. For many farmers, years of hard work and investment have evaporated in a matter of weeks, leaving families scrambling to pay bills and keep their operations afloat. Grain storage is maxed out, prices have plummeted, and farmers face selling at a loss or paying for costly storage. Every day, the market remains closed, the pressure mounts, and the options grow fewer. Many took out loans expecting stable trade. Now, defaults and bankruptcies loom. The risk of losing family farms, some held for generations, has never felt more real. The rural economy is unraveling, with local businesses and entire communities at risk. When farmers struggle, the ripple effects hit every diner, hardware store, and school in town. Agricultural groups, once reliable Republican allies, are now flooding the White House with urgent warnings and pleas for action. They support holding China accountable, but not at the cost of their livelihoods. Many feel caught in the crossfire of a trade war they never asked for. Promises of future aid are met with skepticism. Farmers need solutions now, not vague assurances or political sound bites. The 2025 harvest may be a breaking point, with damage that could be irreversible. If markets don't reopen, the consequences could last for decades. The crisis is testing the very fabric of rural America, challenging the resilience and spirit of communities built on generations of hard work and hope. China's retaliation has hit the American beef industry hard, closing a once promising market. The US is losing $120 million a month in potential beef exports to China. Years of investment in building this trade relationship have been wiped out overnight. The sudden loss has created a supply glut, driving down cattle prices and squeezing ranchers' profits. International competitors like Australia and Brazil are quickly filling the gap. China's shift is a long-term realignment, not a temporary fix. Ranchers, often symbols of American self-reliance, now find themselves collateral damage in a geopolitical struggle. They watch as competitors gain a permanent foothold in a market they helped build. The frustration is immense, with economic futures dictated by distant policy decisions. The loss of China as a buyer may be irreversible for many ranches. In a globalized world, a single policy decision can determine a family's survival. As the US steps back, South American competitors surge forward. Brazil and Argentina are capitalizing on the US-China trade dispute, becoming China's new primary suppliers. Brazil is ramping up soybean and beef production, supported by government investment in infrastructure. Argentina recently secured a massive soybean deal with China, even as it received a US bailout. American farmers see this as a bitter irony, US aid indirectly helping competitors. China's strategy is about more than supply. It's building long-term alliances outside the US sphere. Through investments and contracts, China is expanding its geopolitical influence in Latin America. The message: China is a reliable customer, while the US is seen as unpredictable. New economic alliances are shifting the global balance of power. The US risks being left behind in a rapidly changing trade landscape. The trade war has accelerated China's push to reduce dependence on the US. What began as a series of tariffs and countermeasures has evolved into a much deeper transformation of global trade relationships. Chinese officials now view the US as an unreliable partner, prompting a fundamental shift in strategy. The uncertainty of future US policies has made long-term planning with American suppliers risky and unpredictable. China is building resilient supply chains, investing in agriculture abroad, and seeking to control more of its own food security by diversifying sources. It's locking in long-term contracts with Brazil and Argentina, ensuring a steady flow of key commodities like soybeans and corn, and reducing exposure to US market disruptions. The Belt and Road Initiative is expanding China's influence, connecting new partners, and opening up alternative trade corridors. By financing infrastructure to bypass US-dominated trade routes, China is reshaping the global flow of goods and reducing its vulnerability to American pressure. For American farmers, the loss of trust is likely permanent. Even a new deal won't restore old trade volumes. Many are left wondering if their best days are behind them. Chinese importers, burned twice, are wary of relying on the US again. They're actively seeking alternatives, and the memory of past disruptions lingers. US industry leaders recognize that lost market share is nearly impossible to regain. Once buyers find new suppliers, loyalty is hard to rebuild. China's new leverage means US farm exports are no longer a powerful bargaining chip. The balance of power in global agriculture has shifted. The US can't assume China's demand will force concessions on other issues. The old playbook simply doesn't work anymore. The era of American agricultural dominance in China is over. A new chapter in global trade is being written, with the US on the sidelines. Farmers face a new reality: global competition, shifting alliances, and diminished influence in the world's fastest-growing markets. While Brazil and Argentina grab headlines, India is quietly rising as a global agricultural exporter. India is expanding exports of cotton, seafood, and rice to China and other markets seeking alternatives to US suppliers. The Indian government is seizing the moment, promoting exports and securing new trade deals. India's emergence adds more competition for American farmers, even if US-China tensions ease. The global agricultural order is becoming more multipolar and competitive. For US producers, the path back to dominance is steeper than ever. The tariffs' economic pain is now a political crisis for the Trump administration. The Farm Belt, once a Republican stronghold, is erupting in anger and discontent. Agriculture groups and lawmakers from farm states are turning against the administration, warning of financial ruin. Farmers feel betrayed as markets built over generations are lost to foreign competitors. The party's unity on trade is fracturing under economic pressure. The White House is considering another round of cash bailouts, but farmers want trade, not aid. Any new aid would be slow and uncertain, offering little relief for the immediate crisis. The contradiction is clear. Tariffs meant to protect are alienating a core political base. The Farm Belt's loyalty can no longer be assumed. Continued hardship could reshape the political landscape for years to come. The administration is walking a political tightrope with no easy answers. The 2025 tariffs are hitting more than just farms. They're rippling through the entire economy. New tariffs on lumber and furniture are raising construction and household costs, worsening the housing crisis. The administration's plan for 100% tariffs on foreign drugs and movies has shocked global industries. Companies like AstraZeneca are pledging massive US investments to avoid tariffs, but critics warn of dangerous precedents. Tariffs meant to protect are instead raising costs, stifling competition, and straining alliances with key partners. The trade war is isolating the US and creating uncertainty across industries. As the dust settles, it's clear the damage to American agriculture may be permanent. This isn't a temporary downturn. It's a fundamental restructuring of global supply chains. Trust in US trade relationships has been shattered, with China and others forging new alliances. American farmers face diminished exports, lower prices, and greater reliance on subsidies. Many may be forced to diversify, downsize, or consolidate to survive. The rural landscape is on the verge of painful transformation. Geopolitically, the US has ceded ground, empowering rivals and weakening its own influence. China has expanded its reach, especially in Latin America, through investment and long-term deals. The US is now seen as unpredictable and protectionist, losing soft power globally. The tariffs, meant to protect, have backfired on a vital sector. Rebuilding trust in markets will take a generation, if it's possible at all.